First call is to Esteban in Colombia, your husband's oldest supplier. He respected your husband and considers Torres an insult. You call from a burner at midnight while your kids sleep. You talk for 40 minutes. You lay out the problem. Torres is losing territory, burning money, destroying the pipeline. You offer stability, clean logistics, on-time deliveries. Esteban agrees. Second call is to Mendoza, the accountant. He's loyal to you because 4 years ago, you warned him about a federal investigation 48 hours before it hit, and his family made it out of the country on your advice. That debt doesn't expire. Third call is to Pilar, Torres' own lieutenant. Young, smart, tired of being overlooked. You offer him the top seat at the distribution table. He takes it before you finish the sentence. You cut Torres out of the supply chain. Without product, his dealers go dry. Without dealers, his soldiers stop earning. Within 3 weeks, his own guys are asking Pilar where the shipments went. Torres comes to your house on a Thursday night, making threats with your daughter's drawings still on the fridge behind your head. You sit across from him and tell him Esteban won't take his calls. Mendoza froze his money, and Pilar's crew is triple whatever he has left. He leaves before midnight. You lock the door and stand in the hallway and realize your hands aren't even shaking. You run the operation from the kitchen table. Supply through Esteban on a route you redesigned from a conversation you overheard 3 years ago. Distribution through Pilar, money through Mendoza, and the front businesses your signature's been on for a decade. The DEA parks outside twice a week and sees a widow doing school drop-offs and gardening. You're the most powerful person in the state, and you look like a single mom. The rival cartel backs off because the supply is flowing, and wars are bad for business. Territories stabilize. Money returns clean. In 6 months, you've turned a collapsing empire into something more efficient than it ever was under your husband. Here's the part you won't say out loud. Not to Mendoza, not to Pilar, not to your mother, not to the priest at Sunday Mass, not to the mirror. You're good at this. Better than he was. Your husband ran on fear and muscle, and the blunt force of a man who grew up believing volume equals authority. You run on information and patience and the surgical precision of a woman who spent 15 years being underestimated by every man in every room. He made enemies because his ego entered rooms before he did. You don't have an ego. You have a filing cabinet in your head and 15 years of data nobody knows you collected. The organization is cleaner, quieter, and more profitable under you than it was under him. You eliminated Torres without a weapon. You secured the Colombian supply with a phone call. You restructured distribution by promoting a man your husband never would have trusted because your husband promoted loyalty and you promote competence. And you like it. Not the drugs. Not the violence that happens at the edges of the business. The parts you still refuse to look at directly, because looking at them would require you to admit that the money paying for your daughter's piano lessons passed through rooms where people suffered. You don't look at that. You look at the control. For 15 years, every decision in your life was made by a man who loved you enough to build you a garden and not enough to let you choose your own flowers. Now you choose everything. And the feeling that gives you is something you recognize because you saw it on his face 1,000 times. That calm certainty after a good week. That quiet glow of a person who knows the machine is running and they're the one running it. You have that glow now, and it terrifies you. Not because it's new, because it's familiar. Because understanding that feeling means you finally understand him. Not the boy who carried your books. The other one. The one you spent 15 years pretending didn't exist. You understand him completely now, and understanding him means becoming him. And becoming him means the woman who fell in love at 17 is gone. She didn't leave. She just got buried under the same silence that buried everything else in this house. Your son is 13. He finds out from a bodyguard's phone call he shouldn't have heard. He stands across the kitchen counter and asks if you're doing what Dad did. You tell him you're keeping the family safe. He says that's what Dad always said too. Same words, same door closing behind the eyes. He walks out. The phrase passes between generations like a virus. You didn't even say, "Don't worry about it." But he heard it anyway because silence and those 4 words are made of the same material. Your daughter is different. She's 11. She doesn't confront you. She does something worse. She starts doing exactly what you did for 15 years. Watching, listening, absorbing. She overhears your calls and pretends she didn't. She notices when Pilar visits and files it behind those quiet eyes. One evening, you catch her looking at you across the dinner table with an expression that stops your heart. You recognize it because you've worn it for 15 years. It's the face of a woman learning that the smartest thing she can do in this house is not ask questions. She's 11 years old, and she's already becoming you. You built this empire to protect them. You took the throne to save the only life they've known. But watching your daughter practice silence the way you practiced it, you realize the darkest inheritance isn't the money or the territory or the name. It's the quiet. The same quiet he gave you is the quiet you just gave her, and someday she'll give it to someone else. Because empires collapse, but silence is forever. That's a wrap. This story is fiction. But behind every cartel headline, there's a woman who either ran